from The Athletic, a man who has been covering the Houston Astros for the past few seasons, doing a great job of it. The one and only Chandler Rome, who was in Nashville for baseball's winter meetings. Chandler, what we know the Astros have done to this point is they traded for a reliever, Dylan Coleman from the Kansas City Royals. They signed a backup catcher in Hector Caratini. Are the Astros done right now making any moves that I guess would be noteworthy?
I don't think the next couple of days they're going to do anything. I don't think they're done totally. But it's difficult for me to envision them making a big splash just because they've never done that. I think all the fans and everyone that expected them to be in on all these big names and wanted such big things done, they never do that. They're never. Last year was an anomaly when Jim Crane played general manager for 3 months and they spent a ton of money in free agency. That's not what they do normally. They use free agency to address their margins. The Hector Caratini signing is a pretty perfect example of that. Dana Brown didn't rule out the possibility that they maybe can engineer a trade. He said that they have discussed major league player for major league player trade, but I didn't get the sense anything was imminent, anything else was going to happen. This may be the extent of their quote-unquote big moves this winter.
Dana Brown is a guy that I've said very often sounds like a politician when he's up at the podium because he does say a lot of things that I think the average Astro fan wants to hear. It's very different than his predecessor, James Click, who really didn't say much of anything. There were moments, I guess, over the last couple of weeks where it did feel like Dana Brown was perhaps trying to, make it happen into existence, the idea of the Astros maybe going over the competitive balance tax. But as you've written about a couple of times, they're in a pretty difficult spot when it comes to that. Something around like $2 million, I guess, before these moves underneath it, I guess. So that's about what you said right there. Do you think that is a mistake where they're at? Do you think that they need a little bit more going into next year than obviously just rolling back what they had last season, which did get to Game 7 of the ALCS?
Yeah, let's not forget. They're bringing back 8 of 9 everyday players on the roster that was one win away from going to another World Series. They bring their entire rotation back. They bring their setup man and their closer back. I do think you saw last year how quickly, though, a surplus or a perceived strength can become, not a strength. You watch their starting pitching depth really dwindle. I wonder if they have enough relief pitching. I know Dana Brown was pretty bullish about some of the internal options they have, be it Seth Martinez, Bennett Souza, Forrest Whitley even got a couple of shout-outs at these winter meetings, which was not on my bingo card. But I think they probably need another established reliever. And Dylan Coleman, they traded for him yesterday. That's the sort of move I think they're going to have to. If they don't want to exceed the competitive balance tax, I think those sort of trades or moves are going to be what they have to do. Very low, high upside guys that are cost effective. Dylan Coleman's not even in arbitration yet. He's making the league minimum. You can see in some of his peripherals that there's reasons to like him. And you just kind of hope that the Astros pitching development and pitching infrastructure can, once he gets in there, can kind of sprinkle their fairy dust on him and get him doing things that, they do with new pitchers, new additions. And, I think that's the one place right now that I look that they probably need more help. There are some creative things they could do to maybe, get a little bit further under the CBT if that's the edict. I have not been told that, it is definitely an edict. It has definitely been told that they cannot exceed the competitive balance tax. I've been told that, Jim Crane will exceed it, but it's going to have to be for the right thing. I don't think the two moves that they've done, I don't think that's what he'd exceed the competitive balance tax for, if you get my drift. I think it would have to be something a lot more consequential, a lot bigger and I just don't know that they're playing in that pool right now.
They're not playing in the Juan Soto pool. Obviously, the Yankees just traded for him. We'll talk about him in a second. And the Shohei Ohtani pool. The Coleman move is interesting from the perspective of he has had a good season before in the majors, and last year was a disaster. I got some Rafael Montero vibes when I covered Chandler Montero in Seattle. My God, I couldn't believe that the Astros traded for him when the Kendall Graveman trade happened a couple of years ago. But I guess I get it because there were some moments where Montero showed some stuff. But I think you're right in that there needs to be another bullpen arm. Is the chance of a Hector Neris reunion, is that completely off the table? Is that not something that they would consider to potentially go over the competitive balance tax for?
That's not off the table. I mean, they talked to Neris's representatives in Nashville, but so did a lot of other teams. And look, I mean, you just mentioned Rafael Montero. I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking at that contract and that are like, oh, well, like, my guy's better than that, or my guy is more established than that. Like, we need that sort of deal. And not only is the Montero contract on the Astros books, you know, they have, I mean, Kendall Graveman's going to make $8 million next year. Ryan Presley, I believe, is going to make 14. I could be wrong, but they have $33.5 million committed to free relievers. I mean, so that's already a pretty expensive bullpen. You know, I'm not sure that it's within their scope to get a Hector Neris deal done. You know, Dana Brown did not sound optimistic when he brought that up. When he brought up maybe the possibility of a reunion, he didn't sound that optimistic in Nashville. Now, again, the market can play out in a lot of different ways, and the vibe I got was that the Astros kind of wanted to wait the market out in hopes that the prices would drop a little bit and kind of come to them. So perhaps, but I think there will be teams a lot more desperate's the wrong word. I think there will be teams a lot more motivated to get something done with Neris, and he'll probably end up elsewhere. But I wouldn't rule it out completely because they are interested and they are engaging with his representatives.
Chandler Rome of The Athletic with me. It's the Paul Gallant Show, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. He's on the HR&P listener line. The Yankees made the big trade for Juan Soto. From a just looking at this objectively perspective, Chandler, I like it when teams say F it and spend, or they trade for a big name. I think that owners that are unwilling to do that, that's a bigger problem for the sport than some of the columnists that we've seen the last couple of days who were complaining that they're not getting enough access to Shohei Ohtani's free agency tour. How much better are the Yankees, though, with Juan Soto? This is a team that could not hit worth a damn last year, one of the worst in baseball. And obviously, as a result, they found themselves far on the outside of the playoffs at the end of the year.
Oh, I mean, I think Juan Soto is one of the 10 best players in baseball, and they added him to a team that already has Aaron Judge, who is also among the 10 best players in baseball. And you know, I don't think it all of a sudden transforms them into the super team, and I think they still have some work to do. I mean, they're in on Yamamoto, they're in on a couple of other things. I don't think they're done by any means, but yeah, certainly this upgrades, you know, what they had. You know, they ran an outfield out there last year at times that was like Harrison Bader, and you know, they had guys out there that just were not to this level. And you look at it now, you know, Verdugo, who they traded for 2 days ago, I mean, he's not nowhere near Juan Soto's level. No one is, but Verdugo's a nice player. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, he puts the ball in play. He doesn't strike out. He doesn't swing and miss, which is what they struggled with last year. They struck out too much. They are just, as they were constructed, a pretty high strikeout lineup. Adding Soto in there obviously helps to rectify that. It'll be interesting because they open the season. Opening day is at Minute Maid Park this year. It's Astros Yankees on opening day, and it's very interesting to see that new look team debut at Minute Maid Park. And there will be other, you know, new faces on it because the vibe that we got here is that the Yankees are not done. The Yankees are certainly in on a lot of other guys, and I think Juan Soto, even if it's just for a year, because he's a Scott Boras client, and Scott Boras clients don't usually take extensions. So if this is just for a year before he goes to free agency and gets a huge payday, I think he dramatically improves the Yankees' chances for 2024 because, look, I think anyone that was in the Yankees' purview and anyone that understands that their last season was not up to Yankee standards, that's unacceptable. When you're the New York Yankees, only go 82-80 and miss the playoffs, and this is the response to that.
Last question, Chandler. I know you're off to Vegas. If you were to put money on where Shohei Ohtani ends up, where would you put it?
It's all kind of felt like the Dodgers the whole time, so I probably would very hesitantly put money on them. But again, we don't know anything about this. We don't know anything about him. We don't know his personal preferences. He's been kept so secret, and this has been kept, such under cloak and dagger that no one really knows, and we're all just sort of guessing here. Dave Roberts helped us out a little bit a couple of days ago by acknowledging, the huge breaking news that, yes, they met with Shohei Ohtani. I probably would cautiously put some money on the Dodgers, but I don't know. It could be some team none of us are talking about because this guy it's a very, very secretive operation, and anyone that claims they know, anyone that claims they have inside information of he likes this, he likes that, I can tell you they're full of it because no one really understands what this guy wants, what he values, and really where he's leaning, which makes this whole thing so fascinating.
He is Chandler Rome. He's covering the Houston Astros. He works for The Athletic. Check out his work on X or at The Athletic as well. Chandler, thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right, thanks.